on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it. We got to talk about it. It's been a lot of conversation going on today. Several different people have sent me some information as it relates to rumors. I'm going to keep it like that. Just rumors, rumors, rumors. I got a special guest. Shout out to Big Tim from the Voice of College Football. Man, Tim, what's the word, my man?
Just that phone call from you when I'm driving home. You're telling me that stuff. It's never a dull moment at USC, right? Right, Jay?
It's never a dull moment, man. So we're dealing with, constantly dealing with overall the media as a whole, man. And it's been kind of crazy, I guess, ever since last Saturday. You guys already know, everybody knows that the defense has already been kind of under fire. And it seems like right when we got control of the defense, of course, the offense has one bad game. I mean, I've never seen them play a game like that. But then now we're dealing with all these rumors we kind of want to address. I do think, let me just say this first. Hey, shout out to Slap Happy. Thank you for the $5 gift. You says I'm beyond blown away and what to expect moving forward. Hey, look, I'm here to encourage you. It's a lot to expect moving forward. That's kind of why, I brought Tim on myself, and we kind of want to talk about that. Thank you for everybody. USC Priority. Let's do it. So it's a rumor that came out, and everybody's talking about it. And I guess, at first I kind of said to myself, I'm going to ignore this thing, Tim. I know you were involved with class today. And when a major national media guy like Dan Patrick, man, I guess when he gets on and says a credible source, I guess I said, you know what? I can't ignore it. I got to kind of address it and just kind of shut it down where it's at, because to me, that's just so many distractions. It's distractions. We've already had distractions, man, and I kind of wanted to eliminate that, man. Overall, what's your thoughts, man? This article, well, Dan Patrick said it on his show today, talking about Lincoln Riley to the NFL, an incredible source, man. What's your overall thought? And we'll get into some of that information that they said.
Yeah. So after you told me, I got home. I checked out I checked out part of it, and so it's the source of Scott Wolf. And you guys that have been around for a while, Scott has said a lot of inflammatory things about the program year after year after year. But yeah. I will say also, he's been right, but he's been wrong a lot more than he's been right, in my opinion. He's broke some legitimate news though in the past. So it's not like he's nobody. It's not like he doesn't have any connections. But the thought I've been hearing the same thing though for a year from all the Sooner fans. It's kind of weird. It sounds exactly like Soonerville. There's something like that crazy talk out in the middle America about Lincoln Riley's going to sneak off with Caleb Williams. He's just a snake and he's going to leave and blah blah. I think that people are talking a lot about this 10-year thing he talked about. Right. There's a lot that went into it. We could break it down a little bit more if you want, but I just think, again, it is rumor, speculation. I think that Lincoln is in a dream scenario for him and his family. He's got young daughters. They're here in Southern California. During the interview to talk about Dan Patrick, they were talking about him going to Chicago. Now, I love Chicago. Right. I got family in Midwest. I love Chicago. It's a beautiful city. But it's also not the greatest weather in the world. It's not the greatest thing in the world for his young daughters. I think they got a pretty good situation here. I would be more worried. They're saying that he's going to, take over and move over if Brandon Staley decided to, get let go or McVay retires early for some reason. That would worry me. But him going somewhere else at this point, I'm not too worried about it.
Right. And, we got to talk about the pros and cons, man. I think a lot of people don't realize Lincoln Riley, man. I mean, you're talking about $100 million contract. Some NFL coaches are not even receiving that right now. They're not getting compensated like that. So $100 million, the properties that USC purchased out in Oklahoma, bought that for him. Then you got of course, the house off the beach. And I mean, several other things, a private jet. And then he has pretty much, when you're talking about recruiting, he has somewhat of roster control now. In my opinion, do I think that Lincoln Riley, as it relates to being a coach in the NFL, do you really think that? Because he's going to translate to being a coach, because you're going to have to probably, a lot of people talk about defensive coordinator. You're going to have to probably most likely get whoever they just suggest to hire. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he has a fair amount of autonomy, I would assume, right? I'm sure that's part of the negotiations when he came here to USC, that he was going to have a certain amount of autonomy within the program to hire the way he wants to hire, do what he wants to do. But you go to the NFL, you are talking about, a general manager and owner. They're going to be right over the top of you, limiting your choices. I'm really, until I see more on this, to be honest, Jay, I just, the more and more I think about it, he rumored to have a $110 million contract, 10 years sewed up. If he wants to leave in 10 years, that's fine as well. But I mean, I can say something. I said things at 40, right? You turn 40, and then a couple years later, you're changing your mind again. So again, until I see something a little more substantiated, I'm holding off on really buying this one.
Yeah, I agree. And Brendan Iverson says, I suggested it 3 weeks ago. He looks checked out or never checked in. I wouldn't say that. Hey, thank you for the comment. I wouldn't necessarily say that. You gotta understand. I think he's really getting acclimated, man. This is not Oklahoma media. You're talking about the LA market, second largest media market in the country, and they pretty much on Lincoln Riley right now as far as just the whole practice thing, and then communication, the injuries. I mean, just several different things. I don't think they're very comfortable. Our local media with his style, and he's not comfortable with this style. So I think he's really trying to get acclimated, man, as to the local media. So I think that's more of an uncomfortable look as it relates to that. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Tim?
One thing else I want to add, I think a lot of this has to do with the whole the interview he gave to ESPN about only wanted. We got to remember he lost a close friend, Dave Nickel, just to cancer, just like boom, right? Mm-hmm. Young guy died way too soon, and that can really change. That can really get in somebody's head. I'm not saying that I know his motivation for any of his comments, but I'm sure he's looking at he definitely seems like a family man. He just lost a dear friend to cancer at a very young age. And maybe give him some time to reflect on, do I want to be an old coach? Do I want to live my life as a coach, or do I want to have, want to live my life and be a coach? Some of these guys, it becomes their identity for the rest of their lives. I think he's had time to reflect on it. And he gave an honest interview to people. And I think people are running with it at this point.
Exactly. And you want people to be honest. And, here's Sheldon Christie. He says, if it happens, who would you want to see as a new kid? I don't even want to go that far, Sheldon. It really makes my stomach turn when I even try to even have to consider that. I don't want to consider that. I don't want to think about that. I personally don't think it's going to happen. That's just me. That's just my thought process. Like I said, look at the pros and cons that we're talking about right now. You got $100 million contract. I mean, what NFL coach any coach that's getting $100 million right now that you know of, Tim?
No, I'll be dead honest with you. When the Rams left me and broke my heart in '94, I follow Trojans in the NFL. I follow big games. I'll throw it on just to watch football, but I don't follow the NFL like I did, 15, 20 years ago at all.
Yeah. I don't follow the coaches' contracts, but that's a lot of money for a coach to get $100 million contract. And then, of course, like we said, the properties. You think about the young girls that he has. I think he has two young little girls. You're talking about moving them around. I mean, moving from LA to Chicago. I mean, what are the pros and cons of that? I mean, you're talking about a whole lot as it relates to being a coach. Yes, that comes with the coaching, but I just don't see it, man. As I go, I will answer some of these questions. I heard the rumor that Riley wants the NFL. I heard it on the Dan Patrick Show. Lincoln was a great long-term contract, pays him. I mean, he's getting it. I don't understand. Is 10 years, $100 million not a lot of money? Is that not a lot of money? Right. And then when you're talking about the cons, you're talking about the cap space, not much control over the team decisions in the roster, and then way more pressure, man. It's way more pressure and a shorter leash. I believe that Lincoln Riley has more control. And in my opinion, I think he would be more of an offensive coordinator in the NFL than a head coach. That's just me. That's not any disrespect. But what's your thoughts? I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it as an NFL coach right now, at least.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he wanted an NFL gig. I think that he had been shopping around for an NFL gig a while back. I think that this move he made was strategic. I think he does see himself as a college football coach. I will say, though, one thing that does worry me is, man, our recruiting is a bit shaky to begin with. You know what I mean?
It's shaky, and we could talk about that, man. I mean, it's shaky for several reasons, and several. Somebody asked me last night, a guy named Brandon. He said, "Jay, man, what you think it is with the, as far as the NIL situation? Do I think it's all NIL? I don't think it's all NIL because when you look at Oklahoma fan hit me up. When was that? He hit me up. He hit me up yesterday, and he said this. He says, and I'm gonna get to these questions. He says, we don't even have a big NIL space at Oklahoma right now. He said, but we're still recruiting, and I believe him. I think they have a collective, which is like this is not verb. I mean, I don't want to. This is not concrete, but I think it's like 50,000 or something across the board. Texas Tech has one for 25,000. So I don't think they just have an outstanding NIL where like one single player is getting a big time money. So, he told me that. So I don't know exactly why it is. I think part of it is, in my opinion, I think part of it is the media. I was always told that seeing is believing. And when you look at all these outlets, constant outlets, man, I'm seeing multiple people say USC this. They constantly bashing our defense, bashing the Lincoln Riley, they bashing multiple things. So it's like you're fighting up against the same thing we fought against for years. And, we were coming off probation. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just not a good environment around USC right now. In particular, I don't blame Riley. We don't even know what's coming out, where these rumors are coming from. But I think that people just are going crazy. Matter of fact, the last 6 quarters, really, actually last 7 quarters, the defense hasn't been stellar, but it's done its job. I mean, until that first quarter against Arizona, this defense gave USC chances to come back from the Arizona game. I got a lot of crap from our fans for that, but it's a fact. And they also, against Notre Dame, gave USC almost every opportunity to get back in this game. You hand them, but was it 12 yards? No, 14 yards, and they got 21 points. A kickoff return, a 2-yard drive, and a 12-yard drive, and they go down 21 points. It's not the defense is failing this team right now. It's the offense, and it's the offensive line, and we could talk about that later if you want.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Christian, you says this. He said, Jay, what you said earlier today, I think you make a reference to the video I did on made sense. USC was down, and this is only 2 years. Yeah, you're making reference to the video I did today. I mean, it's only been 2 years, and I think Lincoln Riley outdid himself by coming out and being 11-3. How many coaches, look at what Coach Prime, everybody thought that Coach Prime was going to shoot out there, and much respect to him. But what Lincoln Riley did was, it exceeded everybody's expectations. I remember multiple media sites, outlets were saying, they said that it's going to take 3 years. It's going to take 5 years. They predicted 8-4, 8-5. So I think Lincoln Riley really exceeded expectation. Now, it's like our own fan base is just destroying them. Can we talk about that for a minute? Nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. What are your thoughts on that? As it relates
I took a beating on the my call-in show I had the other day with Matt. I just kind of lost it, really, because I'm hearing so much. I basically asked these guys, what's the motto of SC? Is fight on. The people that I get that people are saying, what the hell's going on? I totally get that. But the direction that our fan base is going, the questions, the heads they want to roll, they want to fire a defensive coordinator mid-season. Yet right afterwards, again, like I said, defense is not the issue right now. It's just not the issue. I think that fan base got hyped, like you said. I talked about it as well. The fact that he probably did himself a huge disservice going 11-3 and getting all the expectations up because it was a good rebuild. But I think we took that offensive line last year, Jay, for granted. That seasoned veteran offensive line last year, we thought, let's go to the portal. We could replace, you can't really replace guys like Nealon and Voorhees just by pulling in a couple of guys from the transfer portal. And you're beginning to see it, and if they don't get that stuff cleaned up on the offensive line, USC is going to be in a lot of fights this year.
The thing is, I think the offensive line is not as strong. You got Emmanuel Pregnall that came from Wyoming. All these guys, And I thought about this real hard today. You got Jared Kingston, of course, you got Michael Turquin that came from Florida, but I really thought about this part, man. Cortland Ford, who went transferred to Kentucky, I think he may be starting at Kentucky, but I kind of wonder, like, do they regret just letting him go so easy? I'm not sure the dynamics of that, or like what was in play with that, but I felt like we had a guy in Cortland Ford that could have absolutely stayed and play offensive line because he was battling. If you remember last year, he was actually battling Bobby Haskins out. They were, the battle was kind of close, and so now he's gone. And I thought that they kind of miscalculated this thing as far as these guys that transferred, man. So I don't know, man. So we'll see what happens with that. What you thinking?
Well, I mean, my understanding is Cortland Ford has having a hard time staying on the field because of injury. I think he had all the ability in the world. I was a big fan of his for a couple of years. I mean, I really like, just his athleticism, his build, everything was great. But I just thought that he just seemed to be often injured, and that was kind of holding him back in his development. I don't know what the staff decided on that maybe they just wanted to get some more reliable people to come in. I don't know. Whatever they did, though, whatever the situation is I don't want to call anybody out by name, but there was just a lot of unexplainable stuff happening on that offensive line in that game. And, starting with what I'm a huge fan of Justin Dedich, but man, this, when your entire line's moving, right, it's on the snap, not a false start. When your entire line moves at the same time and the ball's not coming out. There's some odd hitches on the snap. It looks like on the right side of the line, just not getting lined up. The first step is off and just getting blown up in the middle. It just seems like there's a lot of issues going on, and they're going to need to clean it up, especially against this pass rush we're going to see at Utah.
Well, the thing is, as we talk about Utah, this is going to be the third week in a row. It started with Arizona defense that was pretty physical. We already knew that they were physical defense coming in. Then you had Notre Dame. Now you're going to have the same kind of physical defense in Utah. They say the best defense overall, and I'll do a review on that later on this week. But I think that it's up to Lincoln Riley at this point to really get the right. I mean, because we haven't. When you look at how bland our offense looked, man, it's no screens, no. I mean, it was no draw plays. I mean, no design plays that really kind of offset that situation, man. And we've seen it in Arizona. But it's like nothing was really drawn up for that, man. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I can't put it on. I mean, it's some on the offensive line, but if you had a weakness, we know from the get-go that we've kind of been mixing and matching guys from the beginning. They weren't really sure of who they wanted to play anyway. So I think that at some point, it's their job to really kind of scheme it in the right way. Same way with the defense.
Yeah, I think they need to figure something out as far as the receivers. I mean, I've watched the game again, and there were some guys that were open, but man, they were blowing up the line so fast. Caleb didn't have much time. I talked about it earlier in the week about the fact that I'm like, why is he stepping up in the pocket? But then I watched on a rewatch, and on rewatch I saw he was, but that ball was getting batted down. There were no passing lanes. That they were getting blown up inside, or getting blown up outside. But the receivers got to do a better job. The last couple of weeks, it just seems I think they've figured out something on defense. They're playing tight man on these guys. And Caleb doesn't have a lot of time to get rid of the ball, and the mixture of no guys getting separation and the pass rush coming from everywhere and keeping him inside the pocket as well is what we saw on Saturday. And he just uncharacteristically, we all love the fact that Caleb could throw off platform. I mean, generally he can do it, but sometimes he just, maybe with all gunslingers, they think that they can squeeze the ball in there and they can make a play happen. But it kind of looked like I just. Off the top of my head, it looked like he was panicking a little bit. It looked like he was really forcing some balls in.
It's funny that you said that because I think who was that put that out? Jake Smith from 24/7 Sports. He put out this PFF. We had the PFF pressures from the defensive tackles, and they do all the different category, different statistics. And we have one coming from for Caleb Williams. They said this year compared to last year, I think he was over 80 something, 85 or something like that when pressure comes. This year is like 29. And like they're saying that he doesn't handle pressure well. I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, I'm just going by the PFF, what they're saying. But I mean, and I don't know. I don't know if he was panicking. I don't know. But I'll say this too. I think Lincoln is part of Lincoln Riley's job to really address the part of calling the plays, because if you look over, I don't think we could put the responsibility on the offensive line, 300-some pound guys, to hold their stance, and then you got the clapping that's still going on, and then looking at the sideline to get the play in, and then coming back with the clapping, and it runs down to, the clock runs down to about 4 seconds, and it's like, man, of course those guys are gonna false start. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, just making them hold that for a long time. It is difficult, and also the check with me is like he'll check out of a play. I mean, it's just, as a lineman, you have to have a lot of discipline. But on the road, when it's so loud, you got all that noise going on anyway. You know, it seems like, and even at home, actually, you kind of did it. You kind of did it when we were at home against Arizona as well. It just seems like a little bit too much. I'm with you on that. It just seems like there's too much, and you're asking a lot of the offensive linemen to just sit there, hold their stance, and be ready to go. Just issues snapping the ball in general. It just looks like up front, it just looks like it's problems. You know what I mean? It looks like you have individually great linemen, but whatever's going on, and I believe in Josh. I think Josh Henson's a great offensive line coach. Last year, they showed that. I'm trying to figure out what is the disconnect on this line. It kind of looks like it's on the right-hand side a bit. It kind of looks like the snaps. I mean, Dedich was the #1 center recruit in the country coming out of high school, and he played all those years at guard, and he was a great block. He played great, really good at guard. But now he's moved inside, and there's just something about this line, and it takes a while. You know, it does take a while for this unit to gel. They didn't play together in spring ball because we had the transfers come in. Pregnon came in, and he was dinged up a little bit, so he got a late start as well. But you would think by now, by week 7, that it would be tightened up and they'd be playing better ball. So I don't know. I'm hoping they come out and they show us this week. But man, they're out of time. They are literally out of time to sort out what they're trying to figure out.
You know, the easy games, man, all that easy stuff. You know, the times we were supposed to be mixing and matching and making sure that we got the guys that's going to, protect Caleb. That time is over. I mean, the bottom line is the time is over, and we started seeing it against Arizona State. We started seeing it. I mean, they actually had, I think, a defensive front, Arizona, and we started seeing that it was kind of shaky then. And, Jared Kingston, excellent player, man. That guy actually, I mean, like I said, he had a PFF grade high, one of the highest rated offensive linemen coming into the season. For whatever reason, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, he didn't forget how to, I know they moved him around. And then, of course, as you said, the guys that we've already had, Justin Dedich, I don't know. I mean, it's very, very puzzling. And to not have the adjustments there, man, I think that's really it's kind of a loss in the sauce. Has us all lost in the sauce, But, looking forward, man, real quick to, and I'm not going to hold everybody long because everybody that's coming on wanted to address the Lincoln Riley. We kind of talked about it at the beginning that, Lincoln Riley, I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe there's too many pros that, he's going to stay here, more control of roster, $100 million contract, kids here. I believe it's just absolutely a rumor. And that's what I want to come on and let everybody know, that this is a rumor. Somebody had a comment up here. Let's see. Do you think the portal hurts us? So many new people who have not played together. But look, we did it last year. That to me, that's what's so puzzling. We played together last year. We blended together last year well. But to me, you guys know I did an instant reaction video. To me, the chemistry doesn't seem like the same chemistry as last year, especially with the receivers. We're still getting multiple drop balls, man. I'm not going to mention any players. Tim, what's your thoughts on the chemistry, man?
Between Caleb and the receivers, or what
the
chemistry?
Receivers and the offensive line. I think it all kind of works together because, I mean, he's going to have to they have to block for him, have to have good chemistry, and then you have to have chemistry with the receivers. Dorian Singer doesn't seem like, I mean, he's an excellent player, but it doesn't seem like all these guys are on the same page as much as they were last year. Not saying they're not at all, but as much as they were last year.
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it all starts up front. protection. And while there was a lot of time Caleb did have to leave the pocket, there was room. There was room for him to escape. Whatever defense are doing now, or if it's an issue with the blocking. I mean, we're getting free runners. There weren't many times guys got just on a free run to get a shot at Caleb. Sure, sometimes the pocket would break down. Sometimes they would push the pocket on occasion, depending on the tackles. But now you're seeing them get free runs. You're seeing that Caleb has nowhere to go. I mean, how many sacks did they have in that game? I can't remember last time.
I think it's
when was the last time we saw that? When was the last time we saw Caleb get sacked that many times? Has he been sacked that many times? Does he?
I don't think so.
So I'm not saying he has happy feet or it's going to lead to happy feet, but you got to keep. Yeah, the guy is a professional. The guy's going to play on Sundays. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen at USC. But you got to give him some kind of time to throw the ball. You got to give him some kind of protection, because otherwise, if he sees get a blind side or guys got free runs on him, that's going to be in his head. Is he going to be going through his progressions cleanly? So I'm hoping, holding out hope, because it's the only way we're going to have a chance against Washington and Oregon, especially Oregon. We thought it was tough playing in South Bend with that offense.
Somebody was asking me, like, what games do I feel comfortable about? And I said, I feel okay about Utah. I feel okay about Cal. I even feel okay about Washington and UCLA. But the Oregon game, man, away, that's probably going to be the most, the hostile place. It's going to be way louder than Notre Dame. The way that stadium is constructed, it's going to be, I mean, you can't even compare it, man. I totally agree with you, man. Let me read this. Walker, he says, if I were Lincoln, I'd minimize the media interactions. It tells the players to as well. Go beast mode for this last 5 and let the haters drown themselves in the speculation. Hey, totally agree. And Alfredo sauce. Hey, I totally agree, man. They got to be locked in. I look at a lot of social media, man. I know some of them do their social media thing. I think actually that's part of NIL stuff. But at this point, man, I think right now, now is the time to step it up. Now is the time to step it up. It's either now or never. And here's the thing, man. I think this weekend, I really believe this. You can tell me if you agree. It can kind of make or break us, man, depending on how it goes for the season. I mean, I think I think it could just absolutely everything could just blow up or it can blow on. What's your thoughts?
In so many different ways. You're right. Losing. So right now, as bad as it is to lose your rival, as bad as it to lose the way they did, by how much they did, that's got to be demoralizing. But if you let the team that's beat you 3 times in a row roll into your home, a place that they normally don't win, but after them beating you last year and the way they beat you under circumstances they beat you, and all that mess they talked after the game, all that stuff that Rising was saying, all the comments from their fans about Caleb and stuff, it would be a big hit to the team emotionally. I'm sure it would be. And then lastly, right now they're undefeated in the Pac-12. Now they probably played the lesser teams in the conference, but this is a good chance to play one of the better teams in the conference and make a statement and turn this thing around. So going into having to play, we're playing Oregon and Washington, having one loss going in, we could split those games, right? Which is, I think, the most likely outcome. And still, Oregon's got to play the Civil War still.
They got so many games. I think they got to play Washington State. I mean, some good teams still.
Yeah. So you could drop a game, you could split it and still be fine. But if SC loses to Utah, and Utah is a great defense, don't get me wrong, but they have just, they're 123rd in the country in yards per play on offense. They have like 16 plays of 20 more the entire season. I think USC's defense.
I think they tied for like 900 yards or something. Those 2 quarterbacks, something ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no reason. I mean, I'm going to say it. Utah's a good team, but man, I said that Grinch should be coaching for his job against Oregon and Washington. He's probably coaching for his job against this offense, because if this offense puts up numbers against him, it's time to go.
It's crazy because Utah, every game that they played, I think except Florida, that might have been the most games. I got to go back and look, but they made every game just kind of ugly looking, man. They made UCLA, I think the score, they beat UCLA it was at Utah, 7-14. They made that like an ugly game. Oregon State game, which they absolutely lost. I mean, all the games you can attribute that to the big uglies they got, the tough-nosed defense they got, but no offense. The games just look ugly. Everybody wants to see a little bit of offense, every now and then. But I think they say, oh, this is going to be the biggest test as far as all defensive line that we're going to face. But, hey, we just faced a couple of them just the past couple of weeks. And we see what Arizona did to Washington State, a good Washington State who beat Oregon State, the Oregon State who beat Utah. So, man, look, I think everybody, and that's one of the things that I want to really drive home as well, our fans, it's not over. It's not over by no means. I think it's plenty of opportunity. And I think it's go time with that, man. Any thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I think that they can't put together a solid game. We know they have the pieces. We know they have the coaches, and we have the players for sure. I just want to see them put it all together in one game. I do think that Riley's kind of got he got caught, with the offense. I think they did figure something out, some crossing routes, some pick plays, some draws, some just something that's going to get them out. They're playing man. We got to run them. Actually, we just got to run the ball. We got to show that we can run the damn ball because they haven't, and it's not like they haven't tried. They were trying to run the ball in South Bend, and there was tough sledding. You take away that big run.
We had Marshawn Lloyd with the big touchdown. That was over to the left hand side. I don't know if that was like an off tackle play or what it was, but he cut it up, scored that touchdown. But I mean, he's done that a couple of times this year. It seems like Austin Jones came in there, but it seems like they get away when Marshawn Lloyd is hot. I don't understand why they don't ever. Sometimes, look, man, you cannot just rotate players just because that's on your agenda or just because that's on your clipboard. If a player is hot, you got to continue to drive it home with that player and let the player get in a rhythm, let the player get in the flow. Every time it seems like Marshawn Lloyd really gets it going, for whatever reason, they take him out of there, and it drives me up a wall. I don't understand that. Do you notice that? Maybe if the holes are not there, but Marshawn Lloyd has the cutback ability to make it happen. It's called creating plays. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so in general, I fully agree with you. I think they should ride the hot hand. And Marshawn Lloyd is like, I don't know if you guys are old enough at little weeble wobbles, right? You can hit that guy sideways and he stays on his feet. He's a strong, tough runner, and he goes. But you take away that 31-yard run, Jay, and then he had seven attempts for what? For 30. So for 15 yards.
How many?
So he got 46 yards on the game. His long was 31, right? So that means he had 7 for 15 yards.
Right.
And then also, seven for 15. And then Jones was 11 for 27 yards, 2.5 yards a carry. It was not. Well, it was, Well, I get you though.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I'm not saying switch, stop getting the carries, but look, if a guy pops one like that, in my opinion, you keep going. I mean, don't. I just think they got a system, and I know, they're trying to be fair to everybody, but at the same time, man, it's no way. I think that's one of the ways that you got to keep them honest by being consistent with that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know what that total's up to, but let me Phil Parker, he says the problem with the Notre Dame game was coaching, period, and that all falls into the shoulders of the head coach. Hey, I totally agree. Riley should have made adjustments. No doubt about it, with a great offensive mind. Lost in the sauce. Hey, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Hey, Phil, shout out to you. I could not agree with you more.
Yeah, I mean, I think Riley, this was one of Riley's worst games he called that I've seen him at USC. They had no answer for that defense at all. It was a lot of hero ball, a lot like that nice big run play by Marshawn. Even that long touchdown by Caleb, that was holding. There's no doubt about it. He was holding that guy. Maybe it wasn't necessary for him to hold them that long. If you let him go, he probably doesn't make the play, but it definitely was holding. But on the ground, it was pretty bad. It's been, it was bad at Arizona as well. I don't know what's going on. I thought these big guards, I thought that we'd be able to run the ball a hell of a lot better than we have this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Ryan, hey, thank you, Ryan. He says tight end need to be targeted more. Hey, I totally agree. Well, he was targeted one time, and Caleb actually kind of went back on his back foot, man, and he had the pass rush, kind of overthrew him. I think that was the first interception. We need more receiver swap out. Deuce, yeah, I mean, it is so frustrating, man. I know that we have the better players. I know that we could win we could have won that game. But you know, as to what Phil said, we got to utilize the players we got. That's what's frustrating. And you know, I know we got the Dorian Singers, and you know, Taj is gonna be Taj. Taj is always clutch. Mario, I don't, you know, I'm not, I'm not, all right. Anything you want to say on that?
No, I'm not touching that one. You know, he's got, we've got receivers that have the ability. I'm with you on Taj Washington. That guy just is nails. He just makes plays, you know. I do want to see them. I like that. I think I was kind of short with somebody after the game on the post-game show. You know what? You're right, especially because they're not getting separation. So if you can't get separation, get a big body receiver out there. Maybe you can body out. You know, maybe you can box out and get some plays that we need on those 3rd and 8s. But it was terrible. You know, on 3rd down, guess what our average to gain was on 3rd down? 9.1 yards. We're talking about the turnovers, but let's talk about all the penalties USC had. They're not playing focused ball right now. It looks like it. It sees it. The mistakes they're making long 3rd downs. You know, they're lucky to make the number of 3rd downs that they got. You know, they were only 6 of 13 on 3rd down. But the defense held Notre Dame to 3 of 10 on 3rd down.
Yeah. And that's the crazy stat. We only had one big busted play, and yeah, I guess you could put that on Grinch. I mean, because that was the defense, the way it was set up, and you know, had Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith, by the way, has been pretty good all throughout the year. But you had that one play. But for the most part, you know, holding Estime under 100 yards. I think we did the same thing he had last year, 6 for 43, if I'm not mistaken. So USC was able. I mean, the D-line continues, in my opinion, to do their job. You know, of course, Tackett Curtis had his best game or whatever, and the linebackers played pretty good, man. But as we look into this Utah game, man, I mean, what's your overall thoughts, man? I mean, I think we can dominate. I hope we have a game plan that's really geared toward, you know, the run, of course, stopping their run and really forcing their quarterback to throw the ball, man. What is your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I hope that they are ready to. I think we are. This defense is set up to stop the run, and like I said, this team is not a team a big play threat at all. They're one of the worst in the country at explosives. So that's perfect news for the USC Trojan defense, because all year this team's been pretty good first, second, 3rd down. It's just to give up that huge play. I mean, I think USC is one of the worst in the country going to the Notre Dame game in giving up those explosive plays. They're like in the hundreds as well. So their weakness is also playing to our weakness. So I like that. I look for the offense to get on track. I just do. The kid, you know, Lincoln Riley just didn't all of a sudden fall off the turnip truck and forgot how to coach.
No.
Right.
And by the way, I've never seen none of his offenses at Oklahoma look like what ours looked like on Saturday. Never seen
a couple, and against Arizona. I mean, it was the same thing against Arizona. They just couldn't. You know, they're playing man defense. We were getting no separation, and they were getting pressure on our quarterback, 4 or 5 guys. But I think Lincoln's going to have to figure out something. You know, he's got to scheme against this. I bet you he thought they were going to come out in zone. You know what I mean? I don't know. It almost looked like we were ready for them to be in zone, because then when they showed that man look, it just seemed like our receivers couldn't get open. The few times they did get open, they were getting a free run on Caleb, and he had no time to let the play develop. So,
and there was some drop balls. I'm not going to name the receivers by multiple different receivers. So you couple that as well with that, man, and it's just a completely lost in the sauce game, man. This is a great question, Giovanna. Do you think rushing the ball is a weakness in running the air raid offense? Look, I think Lincoln Riley, you look at some of the Samaje P. Ryan, the guys that he had at Oklahoma, Joe Mixon. You know, they had great running backs that played in the NFL. I think Joe Mixon's still in the NFL right now. They had great running at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley knows how to establish the run. For whatever reason, and we did it last year with Travis Dye, of course. And, of course, even the Oregon coach. I don't think he necessarily ran the air raid, but it was more of a zone read. But it was still, you know, with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly absolutely, you know, LaMichael James, they ran the ball crazy. I mean, I don't know if you call that the air raid, but it was kind of a form of the air raid. It was more of a zone read, but we kind of do some of those things now. Any thoughts on that? You think it's hindering our running the ball?
I think people want to group air raid into all one huge gigantic umbrella. You know, where it is true that he's from the Leach tree. You remember what Leach would do for his run game would be screens, right? And short plays throws in the flat. He really didn't run the ball at you. Lincoln Riley has shown he'll run the ball at you. I mean,
run the ball straight up at you. Yeah.
He loves those counters. He loves that GT pull that he runs a lot. It's like one of his bread and butters. So I mean, he does like the run game. You gotta be careful when you say air raid. Think all air raids are just throw the ball. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's 100% balanced, 50-50, but it's not like 75-25. It's not. It's like 60. Yes, it's just in the 60s and the 50s. It's in the 40s. It's close. It's not like he's throwing the ball way more than he's running. It's not like a true just air the ball out kind of offense. So I think that they could run the ball and dedicate themselves to run the ball. But if it's not there, if you got a heavy box, which they didn't really have against Notre Dame, you just got to make the blocks. And when the block is there, the running backs got to see the hole and hit it. I think it's a combination of both. I've seen plays where there were actually in the last week and the week before that there were holes, and I don't know why the guys didn't take it. It's like the running backs don't have the vision or missing it because they're missing the hole. But a lot of time there's just nothing there. There's just we would run play and there's just nothing there.
I can't remember what game that was where Marshawn Lloyd had 140 some yards. It was just a few games back. It might have been in Arizona State. I don't know, one of those games. But they kept giving it to him, and it was only like maybe I can't remember 18 times or something like that. But they kept establishing the run. This comment here, he says, Jay, they want to keep the ball in Caleb's hands and take it away from the run game. I don't know. I know that Lincoln Riley did address something one time in a post-game interview, and he said that Caleb changed. I think he changed the play one time, and Lincoln Riley didn't really, he really didn't, he didn't bash him, but he said, that wasn't really the deal. That wasn't what we had drawn up, man. Any thoughts on that as far as is they want to keep it in Caleb's hands?
Oh, that's my buddy LV. Fight on LV, man. That guy's great. I hope you LV. I hope you come over here a lot. This is a great channel. I hope you're checking it out too. Yeah, I think it was on the Arizona play.
LV have a channel?
Yeah, he's a Giants fan. He's a Trojan, but he's also a Giants fan.
Okay. All right. Shout out to LV.
Yeah. You go check him out. Yeah, check him out, Jay. He's good.
No doubt.
I think it was at the end of that Arizona game you're talking about, what Riley referenced, where they had that fumble, and if he'd have given the ball, if he'd have handed the ball off, it was a touchdown. It was. We're not going to overtime. That it probably takes them for the touchdown.
It happened in the Arizona State game too. Every time it happens, it's on the goal line. I think.
The reads have to be there. He's got to read. He's got to read that end. He's got to read. Whatever his key is, and he's got to go off it. And quarterbacks don't always make the right read sometimes. And a lot of these plays also, it's a run pass option for RPO for a reason. And, they call it, it could be a run, but whatever he sees at the line, maybe it won't be a run. So you have to realize that people say, oh, we're not running the ball enough. You put a lot in your quarterback's hands to read the defense and make the play happen. So, I mean, some of these plays we see that go as passes, designed to be a run or a pass. So thoughts on that, Jay?
Hey, yeah, man. I mean, I totally agree. I agree with that. And to this question here, it says, Brendan says, I believe in this iffy offensive line, if we pound the ball. He says, Deuce and Jacoby. Hey, I totally agree. Look, at this point, when you're talking about the receivers, because we've seen it on multiple times, and I've heard them say that it's no separation on multiple times. Well, we got a 6'4" guy and we got a 6'5" guy. Throw the ball up to him, man. I mean, both of those guys are outstanding athletes. Deuce has showed it already this year. Jacoby showed a little bit, but hadn't really been out there as much. I think too, man. Look, give these guys the ball, man. At this point, we can't afford a loss. We got to win at any cost at this point, man. And so, I think that Lincoln Riley, I think his legacy, in my opinion, is at stake. I know that sounds crazy, but when when you're talking about the expectations, Phil Steele, I think you had him on your show. Phil Steele, says that USC will make the playoffs. Look, the playoffs, as much as crazy as it sounds, it's not out of the picture if we get it right. Any thoughts, Tim?
I'm sorry. You're cutting out. Or I'm cutting out. Can you repeat that?
No. I said Phil Steele. A lot of prior to the season, a lot of people said that that USC has the opportunity to make the playoffs. I'm saying the playoffs is not all the way out the picture, man. So Any thoughts on that as far as having an opportunity? But it all starts week by week, game by game this week. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's still there. Is it likely now because they face a pretty rough schedule coming up? I mean, it's going to take them at this point. They're gonna have to run it. You know, is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. Is it likely? I don't think it's likely. But I'm not giving up on this team. I think they have all. If this team puts it together for a game, and plays to their potential, coaching, offense, defense, and they play their potential, and we're getting a healthy Zachariah Branch back, man. That is just such. I want you guys to remember he's gonna be clutched down. I have a feeling in my gut. It's not going on a limb here, but he's gonna make some special things happen in the second half of this year.
No doubt.
If USC puts it together, they could beat anybody on their schedule. They could. They absolutely could.
That's the bottom line. And you know, I think coming up to this weekend, man. I think we're not going to be. I didn't want to be on here no longer than an hour. Just kind of wanted to address a couple of things. But I know you got things to do. I can do too. But I think that look, USC fans, we're gonna close it out with this. USC fans need to absolutely, positively, all of us, everybody. And I know you've seen it on your feeds. I've seen it on my feeds, especially on Twitter. I've never seen so many USC fans that are absolutely down on their team. I even had a comment today, Tim, that somebody says, Jay, I'm sorry, man, but I'm done for the year with USC football. I can't do it. I'm thinking like, man, are you really, really serious about this? We got one loss right now, and you're checking out right now. Like, if anything, I want everybody to understand, they need your support right now. More than they need your prayers, and they need your support. And to see these things that are online on every platform is just really, it's discouraging to me. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just like, this can't be serious. Hey, Tim, your thoughts?
If you're a fan and you don't expect your team,
Tim,
if you don't,
okay, there you go.
You do,
Your sound is going out.
Oh, my bad. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
So
yeah. No, it's going out. It went out. It went out again.
If you're a fan and you don't think your team's going to lose, then how long have you been watching football? That's all I'm going to say. You lose. When your team wins, you win with your team. You feel good. You lose, you feel for your team and you go because they're going to lose. Teams lose games. I think it's frustrating. Sometimes people's expectations aren't met, but I think this team had high expectations and rightfully so. It's USC, but maybe we're a year and a half into the rebuild. Maybe we were overthinking we get here fast enough. This offensive line's got to get sorted out. That's the biggest thing holding back right now. I think the defense is kind of figuring it out. But right now, as the defenses get tougher, I think we're getting exposed up front. That's my opinion. I want to be proven wrong on Saturday.
All right, man. So, yeah, we definitely appreciate it. It's been like approximately exactly 47 minutes. Didn't want to come on here too long. I'll get to a couple of questions, and we're going to get out of here. I'm going to let Tim get to his family, and I'm going to get to mine. Riley's air raid utilizes the run, but the O-line has to open up the holes. Absolutely. But he got to scheme in a certain way now that we know that it's some very serious issues. Hey, Raymond Wailers, what's going on? Man, we need your son in there. That's what we need. Your son, Michael Ben Wailers, that's what we need. We need him to get, Alani Noah, get him in there. Get Michael Ben Wailers, Elijah Page. We need these guys in there.
JT, I talked about that. That's exactly what I said. People are freaking out. You threw together this line, and I'm not saying individually these guys are great linemen, but I like that freshman class.
Dude, I don't think people understand how good those guys are going to be.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see all those guys come together. That line, you got guard bodies and you got proper tackle bodies out there, and they are all of them nasty. That's what I like about that group. You look at their film, and those guys are nasty. They get at it and they maul people, and that's exactly what you want to see it happening. And I'm telling you, that's just a year to a year and a half away right now. We're gonna have those guys playing on the line, and I do believe in Josh Henson to get them ready.
Man, yeah, I mean, he had a good look, man. Josh Henson did an incredible job last year. I think it's look, man, he's doing phenomenal things, man. So look, man, we wanted to come first address those rumors. I believe they're false. Tim believe they're false. Nothing's impossible, but we talked about those who are coming on. We got 130 people in here. $10 million contract, man. You got the private jet access to that. 2 houses bought in Oklahoma, as well as a house in LA. So look, man, I think that this is an Oklahoma fan rally, fire rally and Grinch. Man, get out of here. You crazy. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna fire you. How about that? We're gonna fire you. So look, man. Hey, but thank you for coming on, though, man. Seriously, thank you for coming on. So, Tim, any last words before we get out of here, man? Just wanted to address those couple of things and just let everybody look, be encouraged, man. We still got a lot of football left, half a season left, man. Anything you wanted to say before we get out of here? Oh, you're off again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry. I wish we had that weak ass Big 12 schedule they have over there at Oklahoma. I'll tell you that because you know they better go undefeated with that schedule they have. But going into Saturday, I believe in this team. I do. You call me a homer. That's why I'm a fan, because I'm always looking optimistically. Yeah. I think it has major holes in it, but I think this is a get right game. I think that the offense over at Utah will allow USC to get right, especially at home. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're still undefeated at home under Lincoln Riley. They're coming into the Coliseum. Traditionally, Utah is a different team away from home. Definitely don't play well at the Coliseum. I look for Caleb and especially Lincoln Riley to get it right. They know he's now seen game film twice how the defenses are trying to cover his team. I believe he didn't forget how to coach. He's a great offensive mind. He's going to find a way to get these guys open and mitigate any issues we have going on the offensive line. And I think he's put a challenge out that offensive line. You know, those guys are great linemen. Let's get together and put together a solid 60 minutes on both sides of the ball and show everyone what the team could actually be.
Hey, no doubt. And Javonna making a good point. Already checking out What a Clown Move. Hey, everybody who checks out, you're not a real fan. You know, we ride or die. Hey, look, no matter what the team goes through, we got to ride with them, man, no matter what. That ups, downs, USC football for life. The first INT was avoidable. The corner blitz and shifts have ran the slant. Hey, I totally agree. Both wide receivers were wide open 6 yards down the field. Caleb held the ball too long and threw the INT. You know, hey, I think a lot of people too, and I'm not pointing any fingers. A lot of people, I think they feel like Caleb is off limits. I think if the defense could get criticized, I think the defensive coach get criticized. I think the offensive line gets criticized. I think everybody can get criticism. And that just means that, look, and I said this, everybody can have a bad day. But we know that Caleb is the best player in the world. We know that in college football, hands down. But nobody is, everybody has flaws. And so we got to look at it from that perspective. And look, I think the future is very bright for USC football. I think Lincoln Riley stays here, man. And so until later on, listen, we got 52 minutes. We've been in here. We appreciate everybody for coming on. Hey, Brendan Allen says, hit that like button. Hey, Ray, he's laughing, man. But look, hey, we appreciate everybody for coming in, man. Fight on to everybody. And Tim, once again, man, thank you for tapping in with me, man, coming on, man, on short notice.
Anytime.
Right, until later on, everybody stay blessed, man. I'm out of here. Fight on.